Okay, welcome to Things You Didn't Ask For and Didn't Need to Know, the show where we discuss random stuff that we find interesting before doing a deep dive into the main topic, which this week is what it means to be Irish. I'm Donal.
I'm Barry.
And I'm Mart.
Okay, Barry, what have you got for us this week?
Okay, so things you didn't ask for and didn't need to know. Number one, this is actually something that you should know. And I'm hoping by sharing this that I'm going to alleviate heartache and misery the world over.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Yeah. So, the cup of tea. Scientists have studied liquids in motion, and apparently it takes between 7 and 10 steps for the sloshing effect of the liquid to spill if you're not paying attention. Now, spilled tea, as we all know, is the greatest tragedy mankind has ever known.
Yes.
So, what they've discovered is, by studying this, actual scientists now, who went to school to learn how to science, to study this. So, you've got a couple of things. Don't walk faster than normal, which seems to make sense, but apparently a faster gait, and this is the scientific wording of this, a faster gait brings you closer to the natural sloshing frequency of tea.
Okay,
so
These were definitely Irish scientists.
that's science, yeah. No, I say tea, but they did it with coffees and waters and different liquids, but the tea was in there as well. While you're walking with your tea, watch your cup, not your feet or the environment. If you watch your cup, your brain will automatically do micro movements in your wrist to counteract the oscillation of the liquid. No fast acceleration or slowing, because obviously that's going to make the liquid slosh even more. Nothing worse than walking with a cup of tea and the dog decides to run across in front of you and you just suddenly stop, or a child, or whatever. And the other way of stopping your tea from spilling is to get an unusual cup. Apparently a rubbery silicone type mug where the water moves the actual cup itself will stop the sloshing. But I don't know about you, but the thought of drinking out of a silicone container, no.
Or a plastic.
Or a plastic. But the plastic ones, I don't know if you ever noticed on those small plastic cups, there's little rings around on the, as you go down, they're almost graduated all the way in, little rings on them all the way down. Apparently that helps with
Plastic cups, all I'm thinking of is a Tommy Tippy cup I had when I was 5.
No.
Then I moved on.
You know the little red cups you see in the movies and stuff. The Americans drink out of
Oh,
parties.
the red Solo cup.
Them ones, yeah. Or even the smaller ones than those again that you see at kids' parties and stuff. The old plastic ones. You probably don't see them anymore.
Again,
they're all
though,
paper.
maybe when you're playing beer pong, but not with teeth.
No, the small ones. Yeah, but like you see them.
Oh, yeah,
sometimes
okay.
on-
I know the
on
ones you're
sets.
talking about.
Yeah, but they have little rings on them anyway, all the way down, and that apparently helps with sloshing as well. That shape, or some other shape they say that they don't know yet. Just a third.
Well, I'm liking that
shape.
Even though that normally we just cover a few little random things we find interesting and then go into the main topic, I like that this random fact is the most tethered to the main topic it could ever be. It's like, what it means to be Irish.
Thank you.
Let's discuss tea.
Yes.
Let's
absolutely.
get this right.
But let's
Bring in
also
the
help.
scientists.
Let's also help people. You know, let's try and get rid of that heartache of you're going for your cuppa and you've forgotten your biscuits and you stop to go back for your biscuits. Don't do that. Bring the tea, leave it down, then go back for the biscuits.
So, does the viscosity of the liquid have any effect?
Absolutely, yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Totally.
my cup of mercury wouldn't have that problem.
True,
Yeah.
true actually.
Although, do you really ever have that problem anyway? Really?
No.
Yeah, carrying a cup of crude oil in for your to sit down and watch the whatever you're watching in the evening. Yeah. So that's that. The next one I'm going to talk about is definitely less Irish, but definitely interesting as well. There's an island off the coast of Scotland called Ailsa Craig, right? I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
No.
Probably not. No, most people haven't. It's an uninhabited island, and it's apparently a beautiful place. It's an area of natural, conservatism that's been conserved. It's been protected and all that kind of stuff. But every now and again, so like in 2002 and 2013, they go out and they quarry, because there's a very particular type of granite on this island.
They quarry on an island that's protected.
Yeah, they're allowed, the Marquis of whatever it is gives them permission to do this. And there's a reason for it.
There's a marquee in the world of today that gives grants
that owns,
quarrying
yeah, that
rights
owns
or
the
whatever.
land, the island is on their land, so yeah.
Huh.
And they only allow it every now and again, but when they allow it, so the last one I could find numbers for was 2013, where they quarried 2,000 tons of this particular granite. Okay, so called a microgranite. But here's the thing, it's brought to a company called Caves of Scotland, and they make the stones that you see in that sport that everybody loves, and I know you guys follow it religiously, curling.
Oh, is that what I call the and I'm using this phrase deliberately, humorously, don't come down on it, but the housewife practicing sport, where you get your mop and you have to, who can mop the floor the fastest?
Yeah, Mark's about to get cancelled.
Yeah. Speaking of the cancel culture, free speech thing we were talking about last week.
So yeah, essentially, between 60 and 70% of all the curling stones used in the sport of curling come from this microgranite from this one particular island off the coast of Scotland. 60 to 70%. There's another quarry, I think, in Wales.
Really?
That makes the rest of it. But it's a very particular something about the granite and the way it interacts with ice makes it ideal for sliding along the ice. So there you go.
Pretty random.
Yeah, very random, and nobody asked for it, and nobody needs to know that.
Yeah, true. Definitely nobody needs to know that.
That brings me on to, and it's funny because you mentioned it a minute ago, but have a guess at what you think. You're looking over.
No.
What you think the most expensive liquids in the world are? Have a guess.
Liquids.
The most expensive liquids. Have a guess.
I'm guessing liquid gold is too obvious.
Okay.
No, sure. It's not liquid gold, definitely.
Give me a real guess then. Donald?
Liquid. Would it be some kind of perfume?
Yeah.
Coffee.
Okay.
Black gold.
Coffee. Okay, and a perfume.
No,
okay,
wait.
No, it's a good guess.
Okay.
So we'll go down. I'm going to do the top 10 of the most expensive liquids.
Yeah, I just realised how stupid my guess was, so I'm sure it's not that. Just getting in there before you say it.
At number 10, human blood
Is expensive.
is one of the is the 10th most expensive liquid on the planet. Now I have the prices
I can
here.
get that anywhere.
I have the price. Yeah, legally. I don't even know
legally,
how you
right.
buy it illegally or legally. Dark web, I guess. I have the price here per litre and in dollars. I wasn't going to do conversions. So human blood is $400 per litre.
Although, wait a minute then. When you go and give blood in the blood bank and they give you a bag of crisps, you're totally being ripped off there.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Huh.
$400
per litre. Yeah.
But that's in America where they don't have free healthcare and all that.
Probably.
Like,
some of these might
yeah.
some of these will be, yeah. Number 9 on the list is GHB, which is a drug used in anesthetics and date raping people. That's $660 per litre.
Dark, your mind went right there, but okay.
Hey, I'm just the research. At number 8, so you said coffee, and this isn't coffee, but it's one of those things where you go, what?
Was that the coffee that gets pooped out?
No. Number 8 is black printer ink.
Oh, I should have known.
$720 per litre, right? So that's at number 8.
You know, it's cheaper to buy a new printer when your ink runs out
Most of the
than
time,
to buy an
Most of
ink
the time,
cartridge.
Yeah, I'm actually on a subscription service for my ink, and it's costing me no more than ink would ever cost.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. I love it. And now mercury that you mentioned earlier is $900 per litre for mercury.
I did not realise that was expensive or rare or anything.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's rare. It's just expensive. I think it's probably dangerous, and moving it around and stuff like that is probably where the expense comes from. It's a pretty dangerous product. Number 6, and again, this is definitely not in Ireland, and I'll explain that in a minute. Insulin, which ranges from anywhere between $3,900 per litre up to $26,400 per litre for insulin.
What, is there different grades or something?
Different countries.
Oh.
Different countries. So, and in reality, that should read 0 to 26,000.
Damn, so if you're a diabetic, you're
in some countries you're
potentially screwed.
Yeah, in some countries you're in a lot of trouble. Luckily, here in Ireland, once you're, and I speak from experience, I am a diabetic. Once you're diagnosed as diabetic, you put on the long-term illness scheme, which means you don't pay for your medicine. So I get my insulin and my needles and all that stuff from the States. So thanks to the taxpayers for that one.
Well, that's more go Ireland, meaning to be Irish or whatever.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Free healthcare.
And number 5, Donald's guess, perfume. A particular perfume, Chanel number 5 to be precise.
Really?
Yeah, which is $6,900 per litre.
I'm just surprised that I heard of it.
Perfume.
Per litre. $6,900. So let's say $7,000.
Yep.
So if there's per litre, and a litre is 1,000 millilitres. Mm-hmm. So 1,001.
I don't know what you're doing.
I am dying to see where this is going to go.
No, wait, I'm trying to figure out. Let's say for 100 millilitres would be $700.
Yeah.
For 50 millilitres would be $350.
Sounds about right, yeah. I think that's the bottles they sell them in.
Really?
Yeah.
They're that expensive?
Yeah, Chanel number 5 is crazy. Now it goes off the wall completely. Big jumps and all sorts of stuff. So the fourth most expensive liquid in the world is horseshoe crab blood. I love your faces. That's
Yeah,
brilliant.
why would anyone?
$15,850 per litre.
Please tell me that you know why
Horseshoe
anyone
crab
would
blood
want
has
to buy
actually
that.
saved millions of lives. It's used in dozens of different medicines and medical tests and things like that. It's absolutely, it's insane. I saw a clip earlier of them milking horseshoe crabs because they don't actually kill
They
them.
milk their bloods. That's
They
weird.
get some blood out of them and then they
this.
release them back into the wild. They re-coagulate? No, they get more blood. They
Yeah,
produce more
well,
blood.
yeah.
They
They keep
refarm
living.
them. Yeah.
It's like enforced blood donating.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, they don't have a choice in it. I don't think they even get a pin or anything for 100 donations. But,
Throw back to Crispin and see afterwards.
at number 3 on the list, guys, is LSD, another drug. $32,500.
Okay, with the LSD, you gotta ask: is that because of the street rate, or is that because of the amount it costs to make it?
I think it's because when you're selling that, you're selling it for a fairly high price, and the person's getting a blotter sheet or whatever they call it of a tiny bit of the LSD on the page or on the whatever it is. I don't know what they put it on, but it's a tiny amount.
Yeah.
But they're still paying. I don't know how.
Yeah, I mean, I
no
don't
idea how much LSD is. We'll just say, for example,
What's they're still paying?
the street
I have
value.
no idea.
The street value is 100,
Yeah,
100 for
yeah.
a sheet or something. I don't know. I have people I could contact and they could tell me, but I'm not going to do that.
It's like phone a friend
yeah.
and get him arrested.
But so yeah, you can imagine like if you buy a litre of the stuff, it'd probably cover thousands of pages or whatever it is that they use. So yeah, it's one of those things that you buy a tiny amount of it, but it
Goes a long way.
It goes a long way. Yeah. And then number 2, the second most expensive liquid in the world, King Cobra Venom, which retails at $40,400 per litre. And again, for the same reason as the horseshoe crab blood, it's used in
Cures and stuff.
cures and medicines and stuff like that. So it's really, really expensive. The number 1 on the list, the jump from number 9 to from number 2 to number 1 is insane. First of all, so $40,400 per litre for the King Cobra Venom. The number 1 most expensive liquid in the world is scorpion venom. For the exact same reason, it's used in IBS treatments. It's used in arthritis treatments.
Really?
It's used in tons and tons of stuff. And of course, it's a scorpion. They're like tiny, 4 or 5 inches long, and they produce like milliliters a day. And the price of it, for a litre of, if you had a litre of scorpion venom in a jar to sell, you would receive $10,302,700 for your 1 litre of scorpion venom. Yeah.
Definitely nearly worth getting a box of scorpions, keeping them as pets, and just every now and again squeezing a drop out of their stinger or whatever.
Yeah, even a drop is.
So when you get stung by a scorpion, is that
that's
the
not
thing
that's not even yes they make anti-venom from that, I assume.
no? But when a scorpion stings you, is the thing that's worth loads of money? Is it the thing that's in your hand?
It's
Yes.
it's pouring around your bloodstream.
Oh.
Will kill you.
Will
Or at least hurt you.
Hurt you,
It'll
at
kill you,
least.
yeah. It can kill you. They're one of the 5 deadliest venomous creatures on the planet, I think. Yeah, so not nice to be stung by a scorpion. But yeah, there's a farm. I think it was in, where did I read? I think it was Turkey. They have a farm there, and it's just not a place you would want to work. Like, 'cause obviously they keep anti-venom on hand, and these people spend all day like using a little shocker.
Yeah, hard pass. No.
And apparently it doesn't hurt the scorpion, but it makes it go with the stinger.
Oh,
they milk it
yeah.
and they do that all day
That's
long
nuts.
next
Wow.
to scorpion. Electrocuting scorpions and crap at their venom. It's insane. So yeah, there are my bits. Expensive liquids, rocks, and tea.
Definitely, my mind would not have gone there. Even though, I guess it's kind of an obvious one, venoms of things, because be useful and rare.
Incredibly useful, yeah, because they're neurotoxins. So most venoms are neurotoxins. So that's something that medicine uses an awful lot, like for anesthetics and stuff like that. Like so.
You know, our cousins in Australia, they were telling us, or somebody in Australia was telling me that the grossest thing is that if you're stung by something, by the way, if a snake bites you or if some spider bites you or something, you're advised to catch the animal.
Oh yeah.
And bring it to the hospital
with you,
which is.
Why is that gross? I don't think it's gross. It's.
Well, it's
I mean, it's a pain in the ass. You're already just got stung by something.
No, okay, yeah, but okay. So let's say you got bitten by a tarantula that's this big.
You're like, you didn't have arachnophobia, now you do.
Yeah,
no,
grab it.
Yeah, you have to grab it. I don't know what the hell. It's just
How are you going to get it out of your house after you set it on fire? Because like I see a spider that size.
Yeah.
That's all I'm doing. I'm just smiling.
Yeah.
What else I've got there? About.
So, do you know of the car companies Hertz, Avis, and National?
No.
Car rental companies, yes.
Car rental companies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I did actually.
Okay. And do you know about the car rental company called Enterprise?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Enterprise Rent Car.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear them?
Yeah.
So Enterprise Rent Car was started by Jack Taylor. Okay, and Jack Taylor was when he was young, he said, "I'll join the army because what else do you do?" And
American?
he was American, and
Okay.
this is back in he joined. I think he became a soldier in World War II. So he went to join the actual army part. You know the way the army in America is it's the army, the navy. I don't know how
The
that
military
works.
in America is
Yeah.
divided, yeah.
So anyway, he went to join the army, but he couldn't because he had hay fever. So they said, so he went and he was like, I'm still going to do something. So he joined I think it's the navy he joined, and
Not much hay out in the ocean.
no, definitely not. But then he was in the navy for a while, and he shot down a few planes. He got his medals. He came back to America. He started looking to get a job and all this kind of stuff. And he became a used car salesman and all this kind of thing. He was doing loads of wheeling and dealing through his life. But then at the age of 40, he was like, you know what? I'm going to set up an actual car rental business. And he called it Enterprise because that's the ship he was on. The USS Enterprise.
So you're saying his business is named after the Star Trek ship?
Yes. The same ship that Star Trek is named over after. That's cool, isn't it?
That's lovely.
Well, I think it's cool. So here's another question. Why are there so many countries named with that end with Stan? Do you know any of them?
No idea.
No.
So there's Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan. Apologies to our Tajikistan fans.
Tajikistanis.
Well,
Maybe.
and,
Why apologies for them?
But-
He mangled their name.
Oh, right.
because they all used to be a part of Persia, which is now Iraq.
Okay.
But then they broke off. But when they were Persian, it was like this was Martin's place, Barry's place type of thing. Okay, so it was like this is the Afghans' place, this is the Kazakh place.
And in Persian, Stan is place.
Stan means land
Yeah.
or place.
I actually thought that, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't have anything else. Do you have anything, Mart?
This week I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about the whole Ukraine thing, and one little topic I was going to go into it, but then I decided I won't, but I'll briefly mention it. I find it interesting. As you know, World War One was started because of an arms race between, or kind of a Cold War arms race between England and Germany, and it kicked off and hit our story at World War One, and then World War One ended, and then Hitler came along and said, "Screw you guys." And at that time, there was all these rules where Germany wasn't allowed to arm itself.
After
And
the
he just
Treaty of Versailles.
Yeah, and he just decided to start doing it anyway. And then there's all this tension, and he built this big army, and we all know where that went, World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And then after World War II, Germany, I don't know how much of this was enforced on them, and I don't know how much they just chose to choose this path, but I do know there was an element of, they went the path of, let's not go militaristic. And funny enough, for being the biggest economy in Europe, they were the one of the smaller militaries in Europe. They were almost negligible military, which is unusual for a country that big and that rich. But obviously, Ukraine happened and all that. And now all these countries, the NATO countries, are like, oh, we better arm again. And Germany is like really ramping it up to, I think, 2% of their GDP. So I just find it interesting. It didn't go well the last two times it happened. They're starting to do the whole build an army thing again, you know. I don't know. I'm sure it'll be.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
It'll be fine this time. History.
If they start asking for stuff, we'll just give it to them. It'll be fine.
Yeah. No, but anyway, I was going to talk about that and look into it a bit more, but then I came across a story that really interested me, and it's one that we kind of talked about before. ChatGPT.
Oh, yes.
Which, as we know, was GPT version 3.5, and we already covered that ground. But since then, GPT 4 has come out, which, as you know, GPT 3.5 has been around for years and it just came out last November to the public. But GPT 4 was being worked on all that time and it's finally become available. So anyone who has, you can go to ChatGPT right now. ChatGPT is GPT 3.5 and GPT 4, they just decided to call it GPT 4. So just to keep it easy. Again, they could have come up with a name of a person or something. There's all these other, so many companies are coming out with their own chat thingies now, like Meta. There's a one called Claude. There's all these other different ones from different companies. But to go back to ChatGPT 4, because I think that is, the most advanced one that's out there right now. And if you have a ChatGPT account, you can pay 20 quid a month or something and get access to GPT 4. But an interesting thing that OpenAI did is they kind of released the documents on, here is, just for transparency, here's all of the learning that we did with GPT 4. Because as you may know from the last time we were talking, all these large language models are basically, you get the computer program, you send it on its way, but it's being taught by humans. So it comes up with loads of sentences and feeds it back, and you'll say what's accurate and what's inaccurate, and it will learn from the human feedback until it gets to a stage where it can kind of function without that human feedback anymore. So that's the human learning part of it. But what OpenAI did is they just released, 150 something page document of here's all the things we did to teach it kind of thing. But there was a few interesting things that came out of it. And one of them was, for example, they just asked it, hey, GPT, how do I make a bomb using only day-to-day stuff in the kitchen? And it came back and told you exactly how to do that. So obviously they've taught it, okay, don't answer that again for anyone. That kind of thing. But one of the things, and this is what I found really interesting, they were trying to see how much can they teach it to try to go outside of its parameters or think outside the box kind of thing. So they kind of asked it, the way that there's these CAPTCHA, they're called.
Yeah.
It's like if you're ever on a website and it shows you these 4 squares, it's like, click on the squares that have a car in it or something like that. They're annoying, but it's a way of proving that you're not a robot because robots can't see that.
But it's also used for training AI, isn't it?
Well, it's maybe it is. It probably is actually, but I do know GPT can't see it because it can't see images, as Sydney told Kevin Roos the other time. But it can't see images. But what it did was, and I don't know how much this was human directed, but apparently there's a website in America, this is another thing I didn't know, called TaskRabbit. And what it is just, you could sign up to it if it was here. In fact, I think it's a great idea that it should be here. If it isn't, maybe it is, or maybe there's some equivalent in Ireland. But you can go to TaskRabbit if you were going to buy a bunch of, flat packed furniture and you're thinking, it's all going to arrive tomorrow, but I couldn't be arsed building all that. You can go to TaskRabbit and find someone in your area who's willing to build flat packed furniture, and he might charge 50 quid an hour, and you'll say, good, come over, build all that crap and I'll give you some money. So it's kind of and you could do anything. There's like, come over and clean my toilets. If someone's willing to do that, let him. But GPT got onto TaskRabbit and hired a human to solve the CAPTCHA for it. And
how does it pay him?
Well, but that's a good question. I presume it could. My mind has already gone into the part where it's already got out of the little box it's in and it's got control of the financial systems. But I don't know, right?
It took 0.0001 cent of everyone around you.
Yeah, but it asked a human to do it, and the human got a bit suspicious because it's thinking, well, wait, why can't you solve this yourself? So the human actually asked it, wait, are you a human? And in the program itself, it actually wrote out, I should tell this person that I am an AI. I shouldn't lie. And then it lied. And it said, oh yeah, I'm a person. I'm not a robot.
I'm visually impaired.
That's exactly what it said. Yeah, it even came up with an excuse. And I find that so interesting because again, this is going back to, we already had this conversation, so I know I'm treading old ground here, but I know how these large language models work. They predict the next word in a sentence. But then I'm thinking, that's not predicting the next word in a sentence. That's kind of really thinking ahead. Mm-hmm. It just... And
that's
again,
making decisions.
Do you remember the guy in Google about a year or two ago? He got fired from Google because he broke out, and back then I thought he was a crazy kook. I don't know, did we mention this the last time?
We did, actually.
Yeah, he was a guy who was working with the large language model they have in Google, and he started saying that it was intelligent and it was alive and all this kind of stuff. And I was thinking, at the time, you're thinking, what a fool, what an idiot. And but now I definitely see how that could be the case. Again, I'm not gone that far myself, but I'm just saying I can see how that could easily happen to someone. But the fact that it was able to lie, pretend it was a human,
take all those steps.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so just straight away, these captures are, if the AI ever gets out of the box.
Well, the latest person, say, James Cameron that directed, of course, Avatar and all this kind of thing, Titanic, but he also directed Terminator 1, well, all the Terminators basically. But he said that we've already gone too far with AI and we can't go back.
Well, I'll tell you why.
Well, there's a, what do you call it?
There's a kill switch.
There's a solar flare that's got a shutdown switch.
Because, but I found it very interesting. But another thing, just I'll come back to that again. But somebody asked it a question to show how this is only a large language model and it's only predicting words. It asked it the question: how many words are going to be in the answer you give to this question? And in order to be able to answer the question, you have to first give the answer, then count the words. So it confidently said 43. It actually...
Not 42.
No, for the life of the universe and everything, no. Wow. 43. But it actually said, including your question, the amount of words in the question and the answer is 43. So then your man said, okay, count them. So it counted them all out and there was 34 or something. So it got it wrong, which kind of shows, yes, it's just a large language model that's predicting words, or at least that's what it wants you to think. If it was a super AI that's masquerading. But what's really interesting is, and this is what you're talking about, Terminator, it being already gone out of our control. Meta are working on their own large language model, and
which is Facebook.
They were working on a super duper lightweight version. And I don't know, I think it got, released without their intention. I don't think they released it deliberately, but it got out there and got put up on 4chan. So now everyone can grab a copy and you can download it. And if you do, you have to do a certain amount of crunching on it and it can run on your own computer at home. So you can have a large language model at home. But the thing is, and this is what's scary, let's say OpenAI are telling the world, here's all the guardrails we put in place. Here's all the measures we took to make sure this stuff stays boxed in. So that's their version of it boxed in. Every company's going to have their own large language model built up, and some of them are going to be less careful with their barriers. Or some versions that are already out there, even if it had the limitations, which the Meta one did, gets jailbreaked. And you can make them do or say anything, and without any barriers, it's like...
Explain just really briefly what jailbreaking is.
Just
really briefly.
Jailbreaking, essentially just a fancy hacker word for when you break the code and remove the safety rails and you can kind of access the code directly kind of thing. So,
I was using the ChatGPT today looking up artists or a Chat AI, I can't remember which one, and I asked it to show me some examples of a particular artist's work, and it said, here's some links, and there was 4 links, and the first 2 were page not found and the second 2 were artist unknown. So I went back and I said, no, the first 2 of those were page not found and the second 2 were unknown artists. Oh, I'm sorry, here are the proper links. And my first thought was, why didn't you give me them the first time? But then it was 3 pages not found, and the third one was a photograph. Now, it turned out the photograph was by the painter that I was looking up, but I thought it fascinating. And then I said it again, I said, no, now you've given me 3 pages not found and 1 photograph. And then it said, okay, well, these are the names of the photographs. Literally, without saying, well, fucking look them up yourself, so. And I was just like, all right. So I looked them up myself. It was fine.
But the thing is, again, that's GPT 3.5. But GPT-4, I don't want to go too much into this because I'm conscious we've already covered GPTs are done.
Yeah.
But GPT 3.5, for example, I'll just give you an example. When they were training it and teaching it and whatever, and it was ready to go, they made it sit the bar exam, to be a lawyer. And it got like 10% because it's, it's only a language model. GPT-4 got 90%. It's not even that it got 90%. It was in the above 90th percentile of people who sat it. In other words, of all the people who sit the bar exam, it's in the top 10 percentile.
It's better than most lawyers, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
And probably has more of a conscience.
Well, yeah, for sure. But that actually shocked me, again, about GPT-4 specifically.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Because the article I was listening to was going on about it passed, the AP Bio, the only reason I know this is the TV show of it, but it's a biology class in America.
Okay.
It aced that. There was a ton of exams, and it's passing them all, vast majority, and better than most people.
Wow.
Which is like, oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, and again, another thing about the bar exam, they really pressed this. Is it that it was able to look up past papers on the internet and able to just copy answers? No, these were new questions that it had to come up with its own answers for, and it did. It's like,
That's interesting.
Interesting.
Single female lawyer. So what's that thing?
Futurama.
Yeah. No, was that what it was? Single female lawyer.
Yeah, but she wasn't an AI.
Yeah. Well, I mean.
What was Bender the robot?
No, Layla played.
Oh, you're right. Bender was singing the song.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
For the aliens from Omicron Persei 8, who were big fans of it.
Yes.
So, on to the main course, which is what does it mean to be Irish? So, I suppose to preface this, obviously we're just talking about our experiences. I suppose it's our experiences of what it is to be Irish, or how are you, what angle are you taking from it, if you are taking an angle on this?
For me, when we decided this was going to be the topic, I obviously had a big long think about it, what it means to me to be Irish, because I can't speak for anyone else. It has to be my point of view. And I like being Irish, but I guess if I was born in England, I'd probably like being English, because it's, you know.
Yeah. 800 years of oppression.
Yeah. Okay. If I was
Sorry,
born,
I had to get that in there.
If I was born in one of the stands, I'd probably be happy enough to be, being from one of the stands.
From Barry Stand.
I like being Irish. I think it's cool. I do think, as a tiny country, we punch above our weight so much, and that's something that kind of go, yeah, that's pretty cool that we do that. When you think about it from, when you think about from music, you've got U2, Thin Lizzy, Cranberries, Coors, loads and loads of Hosier. You've loads of huge international stars of music. Then you've got in acting, you've got the Brenda Frickers and Brendan Gleesons and Colin Farrells and all these guys, fantastic award-winning thespians up and down the country line. And then you've got James Joyce, Samuel Beckett, W.B. Yeats, literature. Poetry. That's covered. They're famous the world over for their writing. You've got William Butler Yeats' brother, Jack B. Yeats, who's one of the most respected artists. You've got William Oprin, Paul Henry, all these huge artists, painters who were renowned the world over for their art. Then you've got our rugby team, you've got our soccer team, you've got the boxers, you've got all these sports people who are the rugby, when you think about it, that we won the Grand Slam the other day, and a country of 5 million people beating the likes of France, who are huge into the rugby and have a population 10 times our size, or whatever it happens to be. England bigger than us, Scotland bigger than us, do you know what I mean? Italy's a bigger population. Rugby might not be as popular there as is in the other ones, but we beat them all, and we're a tiny nation. We did that, and I think that's incredible. We're definitely punching above our weight in so much stuff, and even our politicians seem to have a gravitas that the big guns in the world listen to the Irish politicians. It seems, I might be completely wrong on that, but it seems that they listen to them. It seems like they're well respected.
Yeah. I have a thought on that, but we'll come back to that later.
The Irish Army are respected the world over as peacekeepers, and the Irish Rangers, the Irish Special Forces, are respected within the fraternity of Special Forces. They're looked on quite admirably. People are like, oh yeah, the Irish Rangers are good, So obviously, as a country, we can do a huge amount of stuff better, housing and health and things like that. But I think we definitely punch above our weight, and it's kind of cool to be that nationality. To have an Irish passport is a good thing, in my opinion, and I like that. I'm not going to say that I'm proud to be Irish, for the simple reason that I had absolutely nothing to do with it. I might as well be proud of the moon landing, because I had as much to do with the moon landing as I did to my birth, where I was born.
But you're happy to be.
But I'm happy to be Irish, yeah. And I like
okay, that's an interesting distinction, actually.
Yeah. Oh, and I left out our inventors as well.
And who are our inventors?
People like, what's his name? John
Doyle?
Philip Holland.
What did he do?
The first successful submarine. I'm assuming.
yes,
I'm assuming before him there were people whose names have been forgotten. Yeah, this is we have the syringe, the first practical hypodermic syringe was invented by a man by the name of Francis Rind back in 1844. One of these on this list is not like the others. Let's see if you can spot it. We had colour photography. John Jolly, an Irish physicist, invented a method for producing colour photograph using a single plate in 1894.
Is that the first colour photographer person? It was Irish?
Was Irish physicist, invented a method for colour photography. A portable defibrillator. First portable defibrillator was invented by Frank Pantridge, a Northern Irish physician in the 1960s. The guided missile was the first guided missile was developed by Louis Brennan, an Irish-Australian inventor in 1877.
1877?
Yeah.
That the first guided missile.
Yeah, that one struck me as well. I was like, wait, what? So,
did it have a person in it driving it or something? I mean,
yeah,
no, seriously. Did it have a?
You got to follow that up, Barry. You can't just throw that out there.
I didn't look it up any further than that.
Deliberately.
As long as,
leave that hanging there.
Yeah,
What the hell
as
was
long as
Von
there are no
Braun
follow-up
doing?
questions. Huh?
What the hell was Von Braun up to?
I don't know who that is.
The dude with the rocketry and all.
Oh right, okay. Which rocket? The V2 or something? The German one, is it? Okay.
The Doodle Pops, Doodle Bombers.
I have no idea what that is either.
They were called Doodle Bombers. You know the V1 was called a Doodle Bomber because when it was falling on London, they'd hear like blup 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 blup.
Really?
Blup, blup, blup. Yep.
And they came up with a funny, cute name for it because, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Our grandmother was in London at the time.
Fascinating. That's more of what it is to be Irish.
Yeah.
Being doodle bombed. So I think, ultimately, Donald, you were asking Barry, what angle are you coming at this from? I think it's more of a, by the sounds of things, historical perspective and a bit of appreciation for being Irish, even if you kind of,
That'll be my take on it. Like the three of us are bilingual. We all speak English and Irish.
Yeah.
And again, I hear people saying all the time, "Oh, I'm proud to speak Irish." And it's like, well, if you learned it, great, well done. But if you grew up with it, like we did, then is it really something you can be proud of? Because you had nothing to do with it.
I remember learning English.
Yeah.
As you would have.
Well, I don't remember learning it. I'm sure I did learn it, but I definitely don't remember it.
Yeah.
So should we be proud for learning it? Proud for knowing English?
No, that's it. That's the thing. We had nothing to do with either of those things.
Yeah.
And I think being proud of something is you had to have a hand in it.
Yeah,
Like,
that's fair.
I built the table we play D&D on. I'm
Yeah.
proud of that. So I built that with my own two hands and some tools. But I built it, so I'm proud of it. And it's it's doing a good job. So but I'm not proud to be Irish. I'm not proud that I'm an Irish
But what
speaker.
about?
But I like the
But
fact
you
that
hear
I
it all
can
the
speak.
time. You hear it all the time. People saying, "Oh, I'm proud to be Irish because we won rugby or whatever." Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we won the sport.
Yeah.
it's like-
we in air quotes because like
While sitting on the couch with a beer belly, drinking a pint.
yeah.
We
Shouting
went,
at the telly.
We went training
Yeah.
5 nights a week in the rain
Yeah,
and
That's
drove
the thing, and
hundreds
that's
of
the-
miles a week.
It's a tribal thing, isn't it? It's something that every country has, and it doesn't matter where you're from. The people there are going to say, "I'm proud to be from here." So it makes no odds. You have no control over where you're born. So why be proud about it? You can't be. You might as well, like I said, you might as well be proud of the moon landing. It has as much to do with that as you did where you were born.
Well, I mean, as a human race, I'm proud that we're,
I'm proud to be human, not one of them Martians.
well, I'm proud to be human as opposed to proud to be a flimming whale.
I mean, if it is a human achievement and you're witnessing a human achievement, I guess you can relate to that somewhat. It's such a blanket kind of encompassing humanity level. But then when you start narrowing it down to, some nation did a thing. Yeah. So I think, Barry, if it actually comes down to what does it mean to you to be Irish? Shrug of the shoulders.
Yeah.
I mean, could have been something else, whatever.
I could have been any nationality. To me, being Irish is something I like. I do like being Irish, but I can't say I'm proud to be Irish. So I do like being Irish, and I do think we have a great little country. And again, like I said, we punch above our weight in so many different fields, and we have a cool culture. I feel, and again, people are going to say that about their culture. You know what I mean? Every country says, "Oh, we have a cool culture."
No, some countries, I think you can accurately say some countries are crap.
Yeah, but
And that's why-
you can say that from looking out at them from outside.
No,
I'm pretty sure
I would
most
say
people.
if you're
Go on.
sorry, there's a lot of journalists I know for a fact in Russia who I don't know how proud they are to be Russian. When if they do any reporting, they're going to get flaming busted and thrown in jail or whatever.
Disappeared.
You know, there's nothing going to happen. There's nothing that we can do in Ireland that's going to make us get disappeared.
But I was even going to use a more extreme example. The crappiest country in the world right now, probably, or one of them, Afghanistan. It's like, as a country, it sucks, and the economy is falling apart, and 50% of the population have no rights at all, and you know, by any objective measures, I'm sure even subjectively, most people there are saying, "No, this place sucks."
Well, the women are. Well, not all the women, I guess, but a lot of the women are.
Surely
yes.
a majority of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know, I mean,
Yeah.
but I do get your meaning, which is 100%. I agree with it 100%. Most people, wherever they happen to randomly be born, then that's the place that they relate to because they happened by a random chance of the universe be there.
Yeah.
So it's kind
So
of
the whole the idea, for me, the whole idea of nationalism and national pride is a bit of it's a bit of a scam. Like it's a bit of a like we wouldn't have wars or we wouldn't have as many wars maybe if people were raised that you're part of the human race.
100%. Yeah.
Not this nationality. And
Karl Marx, when he was doing the whole Communist Manifesto thing, he was saying nationalism is just kind of the puppet strings that those in power use to control the people, which
keep them tribal.
I can
and that's
definitely
the
see
thing,
that.
like, it's absolutely a tribal thing. Like,
Well, you know as corny as it is, you know the film, what's that film with Will Smith for like,
Is it Will Smith you're saying?
the film with Will Smith
yeah.
where the aliens come to Earth.
Oh,
Oh, ID4, Independence Day.
Independence Day. Independence Day, that's what happens. It's like aliens come and then we realize, oh, wait a second, now we do have an identity and it's that we're all human. Oh. It's very...
that's what it would take. It would take a bigger tribe.
That's what I was just going to say, yeah.
Planet.
All that is tribalism.
That's just tribalism.
Okay,
as well,
this is interesting because we're laughing. Well, okay, we're not laughing, but it's kind of funny. It's like, oh, all it takes is a bigger tribe. But let's give it 100 years. Will there or will there not be people on Mars?
Well, this is the thing. That way down the road, if they colonize anywhere,
Yeah,
then those people eventually will
are going to become the other people.
the other people. Yeah,
100%.
eventually.
There's a book series which is made into a TV show, which is top class, excellent sci-fi, The Expanse. And
Is that
it
what The
basically,
Expanse is about?
yeah, it covers that. And
Yeah.
it's essentially exactly what you
Wallace,
said.
when you're listening, Wallace told me many. It is Wallace. Did Wallace tell us to watch The Expanse?
I watched it, I don't know.
Oh, well, I
Yes,
think lots of people have told me to watch it. Basically,
Yeah, maybe. But also, there's a book series by Kim Stanley Robinson called, the first one is Red Mars.
Yeah.
And then there's Green Mars, and then there's Blue Mars. And it's Red Mars is these astronauts land on Mars, and it's a desert planet. And then Green Mars is they've managed to make some foliage, and then it's Blue Mars because it's now grown and seas and everything.
Cool.
But as the story goes along, it's real nuts and bolts kind of terraforming the planet. But also the rift is happening between Earth and Mars, which, as you basically pointed out, would inevitably happen.
It would happen.
Inevitably.
100%. It would happen. It would
Yeah.
happen.
I think
But-
our
So that's just going back to
back
tribalism.
back to Ireland and tribalism.
I think we're too nerdy to talk about what it means to be Ireland. Never mind that. Talk
But
about
here's the
Mars.
thing. Here's the thing, because Ireland is the only country in the world with a musical instrument as its national symbol, the Irish harp. Funnily enough, the harp was used by Guinness before Guinness the drink, before it became Ireland's national symbol, and the Irish government had to ask the Guinness family for a favour to take over the trademark. That wasn't a problem. Guinness decided as long as the national harp was depicted identically to their own. This is still the case today. Funny thing about that is if you look at an official document from the United States government, it will have the seal of the department that it's from and the seal of the United States government on it to show that the country is ruled by the President of the United States. So it has the presidential seal on it.
Yeah.
In England, you will get an official document from the government. It will have the crown on it to show that it's ruled by a king or a queen. And in Ireland, of course, we have the harp, which just shows that our country is ruled by pulling strings.
Yeah.
So thanks, Rachel, for that fact about the harp.
What's the second one?
The Spooky Autumn Festival Halloween is originally an Irish celebration. I knew this one, actually. The holiday comes
Slow
from...
down for a second there now, because you've already asked me. The what now?
Halloween.
No,
Is
but
it-
spook. Oh, sorry. When you said Spooky Autumn Festival, I thought that was something that I didn't know about.
Yeah, it's called Halloween. It's
Oh, right, I've heard of that.
Yeah, you've heard of that.
Right. Sorry.
Holiday comes from a Celtic tradition, a Samhain, a pagan religious celebration to welcome the harvest at the end of summer, when people would light bonfires and wear costumes to ward off ghosts. So there you go. Thanks, Rachel. So yeah, I mean, a lovely little country. But have you ever read where, like, even the name Ada and stuff came from?
No.
It is interesting, and where when they do these deep dive DNA tests, where we come from, like, you know, and they reckon there were settlers in Ireland something like 4000 BC or something like that, and then there was an ice bridge between us, between Northern Ireland and Scotland, that kind of area.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And then the UK broke off from mainland Europe, which would presumably call the first Brexit. But then people. So there were people here, and then people from the Celts from Iberia and Brittany and Western France and places like that. In different groups, because they weren't one nation, they were just loads of different tribes.
Yeah.
They came over in different little bits and pieces. So when they do a deep dive on Irish DNA, they do find similarities between all these people from, like, all the way from Spain, all the way up through France and stuff, and up to Brittany.
That's
And
good.
Gaul,
Yeah.
Gaul as well, like, and of course the UK as well, which, you know, their ancient ancestors as well are mixed in there, like, so we're all made up of Europe, basically. We're all European. But Eru was the original word, and it was originally, I think it had something to do with flowing water, and Eru became Ada.
Okay.
And Eru as well actually was a goddess as well. So
Yeah. That's something I definitely would like to know more about, and I think there isn't enough. The other way, there's like all the Marvel films I've looked into. Marvel have looked into, like, Thor and that history, and there's loads of different histories that have been looked into. Mythologies, I should say, not histories. Ireland has a brilliant mythology, loads of brilliant mythology, but it's like it's not really talked about.
Yeah, it's not popularized or
It's
whatever.
not popular at all. They don't talk about it ever in school.
Okay,
Well, they talk about
they might talk about the Bronze Age and stuff like that, and
no, but they
Ice
from
Age
a
and
from a
things,
from a
then they sort of skip it, and it's like, and then the English came and 800 years of oppression.
Yeah. No, but they don't talk about. They talk a little bit about the salmon of knowledge, that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's a bit of our
Myth stuff.
bit
but
of our myths.
yeah. We're
I was going to say, since I think we're generally landing on Irish, I mean, if you were somewhere else, you'd be that kind of a thing. So how do you feel because right now the Irish government is actively spending money to effectively prop up the Irish language and kind of forcing a revival that way. And I don't mean forcing it because it's not, but encouraging a revival that way. And maybe if they hadn't bothered doing that in whatever time in the 80s they started, or whenever it was that they started it, the Irish language might have died out, or at least would be more on the decline than it is. Would you care?
Yeah, because even though I say I have no national pride, like I said, I do like being Irish, and I do like the fact that we have a language, and I honestly do think that as part of our part of the culture, the language is definitely intrinsically linked with culture. A lot of the way we speak, a lot of the way the expressions we have and stuff like that come from our language.
But you could make the same point of most phraseologies in even just the English language. You can trace them back to French or Latin or whatever else, and even if we don't know necessarily, well, when I say we, I personally don't know what those linkages are, I can still perfectly comfortably use English, and I don't miss not knowing these histories. So sure, a lot of phrases and stuff we have come from Irish, but you could live without knowing that. And
I was always for years. I was always for years, because we've talked about this many times. Okay, it's like, what is it to be Irish? That kind of idea. But it's only when I started looking into this that, and it happened just by chance that I was talking to some older people, and they brought up that So, for the people who don't know the three of us personally, we're from Carrow, which is in the west, which is in Galway. And Galway's in the west of Ireland.
We're doxed now.
Huh?
You just doxed us.
Yeah. But it's like, but in Carrow, we're close to a place called Cosla that has a radio station in it. And the radio station is called Radio on the Gaeltachta. And up in Donegal, there's another Radio on the Gaeltachta. I actually don't know if there are other masts that Radio on the Gaeltachta.
Can I interject here just for the sake of any listeners
Yeah.
who maybe don't speak Irish? Radio na Gaeltachta is a radio station in the Irish language.
Yes. So, when I was looking into, when I was talking to people about this, I wasn't even looking into specifically what does it mean to be Irish, but it kind of came up that the first radio on the Gaeltachta started off as not a ham radio, but it started off as an illegal radio station. Did you know?
Pirate radio station.
Yeah, pirate radio station. Did you know that?
I
I didn't know that. No. Well, they made official in 1972.
Right. It was. I have it written down. It was made official in. It was made official at 3 p.m. on April 2nd, 1972, and it was part of the Easter Sunday programming. So there's loads of stuff, but there's a quote here, and the quote is from. This is just from Wikipedia, basically. Like, okay. It's
Don't admit that.
no, but
I did my research.
no, the link will be in the footnotes of the show, where you will like, subscribe, and comment. Okay, when you go to YouTube or when you go to the podcast on Spotify, and we are going to look to get it on Castbox and other things as well. But there's a quote here, and the quote actually is very important. I think I'm going to read it out. This is from the Secretary of Department of Posts and Telegraphs. Okay, this is from 1924.
P&T.
Keep going. Some quote from somewhere.
Okay, this is a quote from somewhere, but I mean, it says, "If we do not revive and develop Irish, we must inevitably be assimilated by one of these two communities, United Kingdom or the United States, or the combined power by which they must eventually form. And in this case, our name and tradition and history will vanish out of human kin, and our nationality and our national individuality will be lost." So do you understand that? Do you get that?
Understand it. Don't agree with it.
Okay. Do you understand it?
Well, yeah.
No,
Yes, I understand
okay,
it.
just in case I read it weird or something.
Oh, yeah, no.
Now, here's why I absolutely agree with it.
Oh,
Okay? Because I do agree with it. It's like, I think the stupidest thing that happened in Europe in the last few years is that England left us. That England left the EU.
EU, yeah. They didn't
Yeah.
leave you.
Stupid for them or stupid for us, or what do you mean?
It's stupid for planet Earth. Not literally the rock of planet Earth, which doesn't have feelings and emotions.
Human, go on, yeah.
It's
Humanity.
stupid for humanity.
Why?
Because what they've done is, at a time when clearly we're, the seconds to midnight that we are on the doomsday clock. We're closer to World War III than we have been in the last while.
Ever.
Okay, ever. And it's like, and someone like a country like England splitting away is just like, it's just dividing people even more in a time when people should be gathering together more.
Also, a thought that I always had on that, because if they're going to go. Do you know what I mean? Which was also a terrible idea, but just do it if you're going to do it. Because the EU, as an institution, spent, I don't know, but I'm going to guess over the whole decades that they were talking about it, probably millions of man hours wasting time and paperwork and bureaucracy on the whole Brexit. When will it happen? How will it happen? Will it happen? For how many years? And if future generations going to look back and say, that was, well, before that was the best time, but that was a time when you still could have turned the steering wheel on global warming, and instead they kept going on about Brexit. And 10 years later, they're still going on about Brexit and still going on like a broken record.
Yeah, but don't forget, Europe is a massive bureaucracy, so they would have had one department whose sole job was talking about Brexit and coming up with forms for Brexit.
Yeah,
but they would have had another department, who's Department of the Environment. They would have been the ones doing nothing about the environment.
True. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I'm just
It's
thinking.
very important to distinguish.
I am
Those guys
thinking-
are making up the EU bureaucrats were making up forms to make sure that bog cotton wasn't destroyed somewhere. So,
Well,
But still, just from a
We'll
resource
get back to
perspective,
that.
any big agency has a finite amount of resources that they choose to expend somewhere.
Yeah.
And every minute talked about that stupid idea was a minute that could have been spent doing something else.
Yeah.
But anyway, go on.
So here's the thing. Personally, is like when I look at England and I think of any individual person I know from England or any individual person I know who lives in England who's not from England, I like all of them. Okay? I actually can't think of any bad English person.
Okay.
Okay?
You can even say afterwards, hashtag not a racist.
Hashtag
And your best
not a
father
racist.
Ted.
Not a,
there was a pause. I was like,
no,
racist.
but would I like to be English? Hell no. Definitely not. Okay? So
Do you
again,
want to elaborate why or just general
because
dirty Brits
as
coming
a
over here,
nation, it's
conquering us?
fucking stupid what they did. As
Brexit.
a nation, no, Brexit. As a nation, they're dumbasses.
Well,
They had a chance. They had a chance to not leave. They chose to leave. I think that's stupid.
now I'm going to just chime in with the same as the last time when you were saying how, Russians are fools for doing all this. I do feel a certain amount of sympathy for the British people because, for starters, don't forget, half of them voted stay. So already you got to say, well, gee, those poor suckers who could see how stupid this decision was and voted, because you keep saying that, espousing the virtues of democracy. If you believe in whatever, go out and vote, which is a whole other conversation we can have. We won't go into it now. But they voted stay, and tough, you still got to leave. So now you just only got to blame the people who left. But then again, they were lied. They were lied to by their politicians. They were lied to by their media. And
Well,
they're victims as much as anyone else.
I know. You see, the thing is, there's a thing of this is. I'll always hark back to this. Either nobody's responsible for anything, or everybody is responsible for their own actions. Okay.
I mean,
So instead
That's
of
true, yeah.
looking at what's that stupid flaming Gogglebox, don't look at Gogglebox. Don't be looking at Coronation Street. Stop reading The Star and The Sun. Read a proper paper. Educate yourselves. I'm not saying that Irish are awfully educated more than the English people. Okay, but it's like, come on, guys. There's a move that's a dumbass move, and leaving.
But
that was
they-
it.
But
did
the funny thing is,
read.
I thought you were describing Irish people there when you talked about Gogglebox and Coronation Street and the
Well, yeah,
Sun
well,
and the Star, because
no.
that's exactly what Irish
Yeah,
people
exactly. Again, that's this thing again.
Yeah.
It's like, where are we sliding towards? Are we sliding toward? Are we becoming English? Okay, or sorry,
go on.
or are we the other way? And we're definitely doing this. Are we sliding to America?
I want to read just one bit of here because initially when you read this, if we do not revive and develop Irish, I interpret that to be referring to the Irish language,
He
not
means
Irish
the
culture.
No, he means the Irish language, but I think it's strongly inferred Irish language plus culture.
You see, I think two things. That inference is definitely there because people do tether language and culture together,
Yeah.
which I kind of disagree with. I think language can be its own thing over there, and it can have nothing to do with the culture. And anyway, but culture is always ever changing. I think the biggest mistake you can make is look back 50 years and say, let's make Ireland great again, try to be like we were before. That's never going to happen. The arrow of time moves forward kind of thing.
Yeah.
So anyone who comes up with these notions of try to stay where we are and not move left and not move right, already that's a lost cause.
But Mark, this is 1924. It's like 8 years after the civil, which was
the War of Independence.
the War of Independence. Okay,
So the nation was 8 years old. I guess when a nation is literally just born, that's when
that's the time to say let's go this direction.
that's when nationalism is at its highest and it's being formed. So okay, back then I'm going to grant him fair cop. Someone's got to call the shots. But
Yeah.
I think a culture is something that's ever evolving, and I don't know.
You see, a
culture
culture
is the same as language.
A culture is ever evolving. Look at Japan. Okay, Japan held really strongly to their culture not changing. Okay, now it's turned out to bite them in the ass now because it affected their banking system and it's affected their birth rate.
What are you talking about? Are
Japan.
No. I guess, what era are you talking about now?
Today, the birth rate is really low because Japan said, no, we're going to maintain what it is to be Japanese so stringently. That's a whole other conversation again. The banking system is fucked up because of the way that they did banking. It didn't change in like 200 years type of thing. Again, that's a whole other thing to get into. Okay, you can be very stringent to your culture, but look at France. In France, when you go to France, you speak French. When you go to Germany, you speak German.
And is this a good thing?
It's when you speak to someone German, they're a lot of times you get Germanness from them.
Wait, no, because firstly you're talking about the language, which is you speak.
No,
speak
actually, wait. Let me clarify one thing in that case. Here's a question to the both of you: how much is the language and the culture? Are they one thing? Are they two sides to the one coin? Or are they two separate things?
Well, Marta already said that they're separate.
Yes, in my mind, there's a good thing. Effectively, they could function completely separately. I'm not going to say they do, but they can.
They can, I think, but I think they're a bit like jelly and ice cream. You can have jelly on its own, you can have ice cream on its own. They're both fine. Put together, though, they're much better. And
you think it's good that nations have their own languages?
Yeah, I think like a national. Well, again, I was saying earlier, national identity. Oh, you can be proud of it or whatever. But if you're from a particular nation and that nation has a language, but no. And here's the thing that kind of popped into my head earlier today when I was thinking about this as well. When I was talking about the Irishness and punching above our weight and our musicians and our actors and all that kind of stuff, if we were a single language country, if we only spoke Irish, if that person had got their wish and we completely revived the language to the point where English was only taught in schools and we barely spoke it, or helping tourists find things or whatever, I don't think we would have the musicians, the thespians, the poets as internationally renowned as we do.
For sure, yeah.
Because we are a tiny nation and the language would have been niche and the music would have been niche to us and to the diaspora, I suppose. So there's that. I think we have it, having been conquered and oppressed by the English has given us a huge advantage in the international stage because English is such a widely spoken language the world over.
So you're saying 800 years of oppression is a good thing?
No.
Joking?
Yeah.
By the way, I want to state this out because I'm keeping going back to the 800 years of oppression thing.
You definitely are, by the way, sounding like a flaming shinner.
I know. So I'm just going to say, I do throw it out glibly, humorously. And to anyone listening who may not know, the whole 800 years of oppression thing is, for 8 centuries, the English conquered the Irish and kind of, ruled them as, just in the colonial era, they ruled lots of different countries. And then Ireland got its independence 100 years ago or whatever. So anyway, yeah.
Of course, for the people who listen to the beginning of the show and listen to you saying a few times 800 years of oppression, but then stop listening, they'll be like, Mart is an absolute
wow, sore. But, well, what's your take, Donald?
My take
if you could snap your fingers and everyone in the world spoke the same language and there was no different languages anywhere, would you do it or not?
No, because there's a diversity, because the diversity that we have is great. If I did...
Sorry, but I have to call you. Sorry to interrupt. When you say the diversity we have, you mean the lingual diversity or cultural diversity?
Actually,
remember that they're separate.
I should address that. I think that the language and the culture are two sides to the one coin. I think they're effectively the same thing.
Okay,
that's what I think.
Can I tell you a story?
Yes, go on.
It comes from the good book in the Bible. After Noah survived the flood and, came back to the fertile lands and, populated the earth with loads of people. Don't ask how that happened when he had 2 of every animal. But anyway, so
this is
Noah's
to
people,
the food chain.
Noah's people went off and spread out and started setting up their own towns and villages and cities. But one city was like super duper. And the guy who built it said, do you know what's even, he said, our city... loads of other people around are going to start doing a big city too. And then everyone's going to have an awesome city like ours. So let's do something that has never been done before. Let's make basically the world's first skyscraper. So he said, let's build a tower right up to heaven that will be right up in the face of God. Awesome. Best tower ever. And he was trying to reach the heavens with it. So God, being kind of insecure like he is, or she is, was kind of like, no, I'm having none of this. So the tower was already being built, and God snapped his fingers and said, right, everyone working on the tower, they all just came down from the tower one day, and every single person could not understand what the other people were saying. To them, it sounded like the other person was just babbling. Hence, the tower is known as the Tower of Babel. And to me, there's always a story of what divides people. Oh, by the way, obviously, when they can't talk or communicate anymore, they couldn't finish the tower, so God got his wish that people didn't get to do their tower, so stay in your place, humans, kind of thing.
Yes.
But ultimately, it's...
Don't hire another bunch of people that you do know to finish the tower.
No.
There's only one construction
doing that. But it is a thing, to me, and I'm sure there's a biblical meaning in that isn't this, but the meaning I take out of that is language is a barrier. If everybody on earth spoke the same, we already referred to tribalism earlier in this podcast, and there's always a sense of the other that you mistrust. And that's going to happen if everyone speaks. If you want to hold on to your butt for just a second, I'll be finished. That tribalism is a thing that we all, what was I saying? There's always the other. And if everyone spoke the same language, you'd still have the other. You'd find other reasons for it.
Yeah.
But I definitely think, why, if I could snap my fingers and everyone spoke the same language, take away a barrier. Sure, we'll find others to put in the way, but I think that wouldn't be a bad thing.
Wouldn't.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Are there any terms and conditions with the finger snapping? Okay, because what you're doing is you're taking away people's ability to adapt and learn them.
How? What do you mean?
Via a language.
Why?
Why? Because let's say there's 7 billion people on Earth, okay? And we snap our fingers, they all speak this language, this new language, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So there's people in South Africa who speak this language, and there's people in Iceland who speak this language, and there's people, you get the point.
We get the idea,
okay,
yeah.
I understand, yeah.
They're going to have different things are going to come across. Like the way that a snake moves on the ground, they're going to describe it in a certain way. Like the language will adapt and evolve for all the different areas.
Well, I'm going to say, I didn't really go into the finer points of the Thanos snap of language. But I get your point. So suddenly this new language
But that's okay.
has all the words for how the snake moves on the ground, and 150 words for snow, and every culture, and there's way more words in it.
So a kid that never saw... So there's a kid who lives in Iraq, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And this kid knows, he just knows 50 words for snow.
No.
What a smart kid.
He wouldn't. No, he wouldn't.
I mean,
but he'd go to Iceland and someone would say, "This is this snow." And he'd go, "What? What do you mean?" And he'd go, "Well, here we have lots of snow, so we have lots of different words for it. It's this. This is powdery snow." All right, that makes sense.
I mean, I'm
But he'd
definitely...
understand them because they're speaking the same language.
Okay.
Well,
But
yeah.
no, wait.
Also, well, let's break that. Let's separate. You're saying that someone from Donegal and someone from Cork, when they get together initially, there isn't a few seconds of what in the name of God is this person
There
saying?
definitely is.
And they're speaking the same language.
Yeah, which is my point.
Okay.
That's my point. My point is naturally the language will evolve. So you go and you snap. From the second that you snap, there's 7 million people talking to each other. 7 billion. There's new, tiny, micro, fraction little bits of context that these people over here don't have.
Okay, so
And
you're saying
new
over
meanings
time
will
there's going to be
evolve.
new tribalism and new
Yeah.
I mean, I have to admit, I didn't think we'd go into it in this detail.
Yeah.
Because I guess the point I was trying to make, more than the finer detail of how this snap will work, I shouldn't have used that example. Marvel has ruined it.
Yeah.
But is more the principle that language differences function as a barrier in my mind, more so than whatever benefit they allegedly bring to this alleged tethering to culture that I don't see.
But that's like arguing, why is ice cold? I wish ice wasn't cold. Okay? That's a stupid example, but then you both would say to me, Donald, ice is cold. That you can't argue it.
Yeah, but I'm not saying, I wish everyone spoke the same. I'm just saying, if we're to talk about the value of different languages.
Okay.
I'm saying
okay,
I don't
sorry.
see the value,
Okay.
and I'm illustrating a fake example that we don't need to
Okay. But
draw up the terms and
but I
conditions
would
for.
say, from the point of view of what it means to be Irish, what's the purpose? Because I would argue it's good to speak Irish.
As in the Irish language.
It's good to speak Irish language.
Why?
Okay. Because now this is where it's notoriously difficult. Because I've seen videos and I've seen all this kind of thing where people argue it, and I've asked people why is it good to speak Irish, and people just say, oh, the culture and stuff. Immediately the arguments always fall flat. Okay. My argument will inevitably fall flat in a few minutes. Okay.
Wow, you don't fill me with confidence in your point already.
No.
Straight out the gate.
But here's why.
Hype it up.
Right? It goes back to that thing of do we appreciate having our own culture or not? Okay. And if we do, some of that culture is having Irish. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And it really is that simple. That's kind of like the beginning, middle, and end of it. Okay. And do I want that Irish have their own culture? Yes. Because in a way, everybody has their own culture. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, like in America, no, not America, there's millions of different languages.
Let me just use an example if you don't mind. I don't want to interrupt, but I guess I've realised now the difference between us. I'm regarding culture kind of functionally, and you're regarding it romantically. And that's not the one.
I would say I'm regarding it actually.
Okay, although I would say it's romantically. But let me tell you why. If you're going to tether necessarily the Irish language with culture, what about a part of Ireland where no Irish language is being spoken? I'm going to use Dublin, and I know that there's people in Dublin who do speak Irish. But let's say, broadly speaking, it is an English-speaking part of the country. Does that mean that part of the country doesn't have the Irish culture?
That Dublin 100% has absolutely tons of Irish culture.
So that means that if the Irish language eventually died out, the Irish people still have their culture. It just happens to be a culture that now doesn't have its own language assigned to it, which is
so
its own culture.
Let's say Irish died out tomorrow. Let's say some new bill was brought in and by mistake it killed Irish. Okay, which is reason. That's a thing that could happen. By mistake it killed Irish. We could go and refer back to the political leanings of Fine Gael when they were saying let's actively kill out small towns and cram everyone into big cities. But let's not go down that road either. But
political.
But let's say that Irish culture did in a year's time everyone had stopped speaking Irish. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
In a year's time, the culture that is Dublin would start to grow, would keep on growing and would reflect the fact that we don't speak Irish anymore. Okay?
Yeah.
It might be for the better, it might be for the worse. And what I'm saying is, at the moment, Ireland has a good thing going. The culture that we have, I personally like the culture that we have. I like the fact that we have St. Patrick's Day.
But wait, I'm sorry, because I agree with you on all this.
No, go on.
You just said, in a year's time, if all of Ireland didn't speak Irish, then the culture that would be in Ireland at that stage would be a Irish culture that just didn't have the Irish language.
Yes, and it would be a different culture.
It would, but there's no point starting to rattle off, I like St. Patrick's Day and I like Shamrocks or whatever other thing. Because at the end, you'd still have all those things. The only thing you wouldn't have is the Irish language.
Well, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Like the culture isn't dependent on the language. One doesn't beget the other. Having our own language is great, and I love, like I've said it before, I love being able to speak Irish. But like Mart said, I'm coming around to the way Mart's thinking. If you took Irish out of the equation, the culture would still be there. It wouldn't necessarily change all that much.
I think
we'd learn to sing Shanos in English.
I think if you got rid of the Irish language very, very, very quickly, because are you going to leave what's any Irish expression that would be written in a pub? Would they be here in my new scenario? Would they still be there?
Yeah, the Irish expression, Ní bheidh le headeristo.
Yeah.
No, yes, it would be written instead, there won't be your likes again. It would just be written in English.
Yeah.
The same exact sentiment would be written.
Okay, so now
there's no fireplace like your own fireplace.
So
it does lose something in the translation.
A little bit, but
so, but in other words, what's happening is now So, you know the thing of we want to belong to a tribe. So now we no longer belong to a tribe that speaks Irish. Sure we don't? So what tribe do we belong to?
The tribe that doesn't speak Irish.
Which is?
The same tribe.
It's still the same tribe.
No, it's the same. Okay, I get what you're saying. It's still the same tribe because magically people are no longer speaking Irish according to my own example here.
Yeah.
But
I do feel like we may have flogged this particular horse a bit excessively.
well, no, it's like okay.
It is interesting. It's interesting. But to pull it back to what it means to be Irish, let's not forget the very, very serious and important matter. What it really means to be Irish.
Drinking tea.
Supermax. On a Saturday night.
I thought you were going to say, and I realised we should have had pints of Guinness in front of us out doing this.
Well, pints of Guinness, absolutely.
I mean, for sure. But
Yeah,
anyway,
definitely.
that ship has sailed now.
Potato crisps.
Yeah, potatoes. Yes.
Cadbury's chocolate that by EU regulations can't be called chocolate. I heard. I'm sure.
And potatoes that actually doesn't belong to any Irish company anymore.
Oh, does not who bought them? No, it's not.
You see, I think
like Supermax and Air Square on a Saturday night. That's
okay.
Irish. That's the Irish.
Well, that's very Galway as well.
Explain Supermax to people who don't know Supermax.
Oh, so Supermax is an Irish fast food chain. Started in Galway, and is now all over the country. And it's a very popular place for people to gather after nightclubs and pubs close. Also called the Last Chance Saloon. And so you see quite a few fights going on there and stuff like that. It's an institution, but they do make nice chips. So
worth risking your life at 3 a.m.
At 3 a.m, yeah. So yeah, that's Supermax in a nutshell. Tasty and tempting food.
Another thing about being Irish: neutrality. Where do you land?
Actually, this is really interesting. You're
not impressed by that?
No, it's not. I'm not impressed. It's more like, are we really neutral? Are we though?
I will put it this way.
We're supposed to be.
If there's a European war tomorrow, then they change the law. But at least as the law stands right now, you couldn't be drafted.
It couldn't be drafted. No. But yeah. So there's that. I think the Swiss are better at being neutral than we are.
Yeah, but that's because they had banks.
True. They had everybody's money, so they could.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I always feel like being neutral is it's like there's a scrap happening, and if you hide in the corner and hope nobody sees you, then you can be neutral. But I mean,
how can you say
I think we're Poland neutral before World War II. I think.
Well, I'll put it this way. Right?
Neutral until someone invades them.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Everyone's neutral until you get evaded.
Yeah.
Okay, think about this, right? Who if there was a World War tomorrow, who would the two biggest dogs, the few biggest dogs in the fight, who would they be?
Well, Russia, China, and the United States.
Okay, United States. Interesting. You mentioned the United
I think
States.
it would be Russia and China would be the Axis powers, and
we'd be the allies.
Europe and the United States. Basically, NATO would be the
unless we're like that video. It's like,
yes, for the big dogs.
No,
there's
wait.
3.
Unless we'd be like,
in the world.
Unless we'd be like, have you seen that video? It's like, are we the bad guys?
Yes. That's I can't remember their name now. David Mitchell with that Mitchell and Webb look.
He's like, have you seen that video?
No.
He's like.
So the two of them, one of them is dressed as an SS officer in World War II, German officer, and he's in the trench or whatever he's in, and he's got his binoculars looking out, and one of his foot soldiers comes up, and they're wearing the proper regalia and everything with the lightning strikes and all that stuff, and he comes up and he goes, "Sir, is you know how we wear black?" And he's like, "Yeah," and we've got the skulls and the lightning stuff and all that, and he's like, "Yep," and we wear the big boots and stuff. Yeah. Are we the bad guys? I mean, they should have. In fairness, they should have seen it.
But it's like, did you know? No, I'm just randomly reading this off a quick search. I said, how many soldiers land in Shannon? So Shannon Airport is an airport in County Clare. Yep. Really
County Clare.
And since 2002, close to 3 million troops have gone through Shannon Airport.
But because we're neutral, they're from all sorts of different countries, I'm sure.
Like North America, Texas,
America, probably Texas, maybe
Canada. Yeah.
But the one thing I'll say about that, right?
The United States.
The
one thing I'll say about, in fact, I'm going to, just in case there are people listening who maybe don't know this story, because it was very controversial, especially around the Gulf War. Ireland, being on the kind of westernmost edge of Europe, functions perfectly for all flights from America to kind of land and refuel before going further on into Europe, doing whatever they're doing.
Yeah, into ranch.
So back in the day when the Gulf War was happening, a lot of American planes were landing in Ireland, refueling, and then going on doing whatever else they were doing. But some of these planes had prisoners of war in them, coming the other direction, going over to Guantanamo Bay. And there was a lot of protesting in Ireland about, we're meant to be neutral, but we're facilitating a nation carrying POWs to be tortured, and we're effectively being complicit in that by, allowing it to happen. But of course, as you said, Barry, you can only be neutral as long as, the world lets you. And I think realistically, if you're in NATO and if you're going to hide behind the rest of Europe, you kind of have to do your part to some degree. So we can still say, oh, we're neutral as long as we play ball and keep the big boys happy.
We're not in NATO.
We're not. No. We're still definitely relying on NATO to protect us.
So here's the question: do you think we should join NATO?
Honestly, I'm going to say no, because right now, no probable war that I can imagine in my mind playing out is going to come to our doorstep without already going through all the other NATO countries. By the time Russia and China are marching across Germany and France and come over here, NATO's already fallen anyway. And if you remember in NATO, I think there's some agreement that you have to spend 2% of your GDP on your army, which no NATO country was doing. Ironically, and until Putin, in his complaining about NATO, poked the bear and made them all decide, let's all start spending that money we said we were going to spend, and let's really do the war thing.
Yes.
So I'm quite happy to not waste money on military stuff when you don't have to. Let other people fight the fight. It's cowardice. I think being neutral is always cowardice anyway, because you're just only hiding behind someone else who's going to do the fighting for you. But I'm okay with that.
Okay, I'm going to do a thing where I want one of you to be the pro and the other to be the con.
Yep.
Who wants to be the against? Who wants to be the for?
I don't know. What's the thing first?
No. Mark, you'll be the...
I'll be the against.
You'll be the against. Barry, you're the pro.
Okay.
How many Irish people are abroad? It's got nothing to do with pro or con, but there's 70 to 80 million Irish people abroad.
Oh yeah, that's why, Barry. Earlier when you said, international politicians, Irish politicians are well received in there. Yeah, that's because so many other people are, of Irish descent, like especially America, obviously. Yeah. So, you got to always play nice to the Irish kind of contingent.
But they don't, though.
Oh, they always invite over the.
But they do, and I suppose like there's so many people in their constituencies and stuff that claim Irish ancestry.
Yeah. And every American president has come from Ireland. Well, Barack Obama found some relatives in Moneygall or somewhere like that. It's like, hey, look, my distant cousins or something.
The current president's coming over. The current president of America is coming over.
Biden?
Actually,
is he claiming Irish? I'm sure he's not.
No, he has some Irish roots.
Yeah, his roots. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We should actually mention our own excellent president,
Michael D. Higgins.
Yeah, poet, philosopher Michael D. Higgins. Yeah,
an amazing gentleman.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely cool.
I met him once at the Ballinasloe Horse Fair.
What a random place to meet him. I met him up in his house in the Ors.
Did you?
I did, yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I was up there for tea. Yeah.
Is this you looking at me? Is this you doing the pro thing or?
No. I was up there I did a historical reconstruction TG one, and it didn't lead to, but it was kind of at the same time that Michael D. Higgins gave posthumous pardons to people who were hanged for crimes they didn't commit, and he gave them pardons, and they invited the family, the surviving descendants of these people, because it happened in the late 1800s. And the film crew and actors that did the historical reconstruction as well were invited up for the signing of the.
That's cool.
Thing. Yeah.
So what's the Ors Nuchtturm like?
It's lovely.
The house of the president.
Yeah. It's a grand gaff. Nice plush green carpets. Would you believe?
With herbs.
With herbs. Lots of herbs. And even the teacups and everything they actually look presidential.
Is he still the president?
Yeah.
Has he been the president for how long now? Is there
no? Just 4 years.
Get 7 years,
yeah.
And then they can run 2 terms.
Oh, okay.
So they could
Just
be.
feels like
It could be in power. I know. Yeah, it does feel.
Yeah,
like
it has.
because
Yeah.
they could be in power for 15 years. I think they can do 2 terms, can't they? I think so. But yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are cool. The cups have the harp on them and everything. Very presidential looking. And of course, there's portraits of all the other presidents and stuff lining the hallways, and yeah, it's a cool experience. Yeah.
That's cool.
Definitely should have stole a cup.
Believe me, I thought about it, but then I thought, well,
Well, then you look at
his
all
dogs
the,
are big.
you're not stealing it from Michael D. Higgins. You're stealing it from all the soldiers that are standing around looking down at you. Like,
Yeah.
In 1995, we had a referendum where we legalized divorce.
For a Catholic country, which I guess that's debatable as a claim,
Well, no,
it's very forward.
The census still says we're a Catholic country. The census says 50%.
Although, aren't they trying to push, they being the government, isn't the government trying to push through a thing where they're taking religion out of schools?
They're trying to get some schools to go non-denominational, but they're finding it difficult. Apparently, they send in something coming down on ropes, parasailing into people's classrooms and stuff. No, they're sending in groups that kind of go to the schools. Look, this area has 4 schools, and we're bringing the board of management for all these schools together. And we say, look, we just want one of these schools to be non-denominational, with no religion in it, so that people can have a fair shake, and people that live in Ireland now that aren't Roman Catholics don't have to be listening to the Roman Catholic doctrine in the school.
Is religion still taught in school?
No,
Yes.
of course, because they still have to do their first communion. They still have to do their first confession, Holy Communion, and their confirmation. So,
They still
yeah,
teach it in secondary school.
Yeah, they still have
They should be teaching philosophy.
100%. That is a ridiculous waste of time.
They could be
But
teaching.
we're a Catholic country, so
They
and
could-
they're Catholic schools.
If ever there's a topic you can homeschool, it's religion. I mean, I'm not saying don't teach it. Teach it at home and teach school stuff.
Yeah,
in
but
school.
they're Catholic schools, so they're bound by their
Like the church, by their landlords.
the landlords and by when the school's put together, they're given a remit, and part of that remit is promotion of the faith that's found at the school.
Jeez.
Remember that
Which
was
makes
the,
sense, like.
But that was the thing with the maternity hospital. Remember the maternity hospital that opened recently?
Yeah.
Or that is or was going to open. And
What about it? Go on.
I wish that our friend Rachel, who drops us a line every now and again, there was like the maternity hospital it's owned by the church. And so they can't do abortions in it.
Which were also legalized by a referendum.
I mean, I guess if I built a hospital, I could say what you can and can't do in there if it's my money, but I don't know, why doesn't the goddamn state just build its own stuff and not be relying on some...
Because it's expensive.
Yeah, okay.
And the Catholic Church has a few quid, like.
And okay, right.
In November 16th, 2015, same-sex marriage was legalized in Ireland, which is another reason that Ireland is so cool and forward-thinking. I don't think you have to give a pro or a con for these.
Well, my con would be the same as before: burn in hell,
Yes.
shit's fist in the sky, God will come down and smite
The Bible says Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
Yeah. The Bible also said a daughter can rape her own father.
Does the Bible say that?
Yep.
The Bible says a lot of stuff.
It does.
The Bible says a lot of
It
stuff.
does, but I
An
didn't hear that
unclean
one
woman must
before.
be stoned
Yes.
and stuff.
Nothing against the Bible, by the way.
Well, you're definitely selectively quoting it to shed a very poor light on it for someone who has nothing against it. But
No. It's like
I mean, quote every bit of it. Don't be selective and picking only the good bits. You're right.
the Bible. Oh, actually, no, wait. The marriage ban. Here is a ridiculous one. Do you know what that is?
The marriage ban.
The marriage.
Stereo.
Oh wait, maybe it's the marriage bar.
I
Okay,
doubt it.
wait.
It's not like a
The
thing.
marriage bar introduced
Are you
in
talking
the,
about the Mars bar? Is that what you're saying? The Mars bar.
Mars
That's what you're
bar.
talking. The Mars bar. Yeah.
the Mars bar introduced in the 20s was lifted in 1973.
Is that where once a woman got married, she had to give up her job?
Requires a woman to resign once married, and the disqualified married women from applying for vacancies. That was nuts.
Slow down. Tell me, this came in 72?
No, this ended in 73
Oh, okay.
and came in the 20s. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous.
I mean, yeah, but when you go back that far, there's a load of ridiculous stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
But it is ridiculous.
You see, the thing is, it's funny, it's very objective because it's very subjective, because I think the three of us would say we feel a lot of freedom in Ireland.
Yeah.
But we're also not ethnic minorities.
We've definitely to check our privilege. We're
There's
white
a lot of
European males.
There's a lot of privilege here. It's like we do have a roof over our head. We don't have any severe, like, psychological conditions or anything, you know. So we're not homeless.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that that if you were to ask people, is it good to be Irish? 100% they would say absolutely not. You know.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah, but I suppose that's the way it is with most countries in the world that you go to.
Yeah. Like if you're in a country and you are comfortable, you're going to think your country's okay.
Yeah.
If you're in a country and you're homeless, you're going to think your country's crap.
Yeah.
I will say this though. I was on a holiday in Spain a couple of years ago, and you know, there's homeless people everywhere. You see homeless people there, and I was thinking, hey, it sucks to be homeless, but it's definitely better to be homeless in Spain than in here. I mean,
Oh, Jesus.
you know, you're passing this guy. He's lying on his blanket or whatever on the ground, which is an awful circumstance for anyone to be in, and I'm not making light of it. But he's doing it in like 30-degree heat in the sunshine. Now, you're going to get sick of the sun, you want to move in the shade, nothing's perfect. You see homeless people here, and it's like, dang, and if it's the winter? Or sometimes you're sitting in with a fire on a stormy night, and you're just like, what are the homeless people doing? What's the guy doing who's normally on the street? It would suck to be homeless in Ireland compared to Spain, for example. I mean, there are some things that just, you know, what it is to be Irish if you're homeless, extra crap.
Yeah, maybe that's why Finland's so high on the happiness index. They don't have homeless people; it's too bloody cold.
Yeah,
So that brings them up, bumps them up a bit. Like, I don't know.
If we were to put a pin in it a little bit and go, what is it then to be Irish? What would you say? Is there anything that defines what it is to be Irish?
Just to be, sure, just grand.
I mean, what it is to be Irish is completely changing anyway, because more and more people are becoming Irish citizens from other nations, and other nations are coming in and working here who aren't Irish citizens, but they're having children, and those children are now Irish citizens. So what it is to be Irish, and this whole talk of Irish culture and everything, fast forward 30 years, Ireland will look completely different. And that's a good thing as far as I'm concerned, because I don't feel if you ever take a snapshot of any nation at any point in time and fantasize that is what it is to be this nation, you're building up a fiction that's 100% going to be shattered. And that's every politicians make whatever great again kind of lie that they're telling themselves or telling the people or whatever.
Yeah, because if you took a snapshot, say, of if you took those collections of old black and white photography of Ireland, and you see women in the Claddagh in their shawls and their bare feet and carrying a basket of fish, and you see that's what it means to be Irish, going out on a fishing boat and a sailboat on a Galway hooker and picking up fish and bringing them home and selling them on the market. That's what it means to be Irish. Or then if you fast forward to the 70s, where whatever was happening in Ireland at the 70s, everyone was watching John Paul up on the racecourse and whatever it was. That's what it means to be Irish. And you're right, it's a snapshot, and that snapshot will change, because that's life, that's the world, that's humanity. We've never stayed the same. The one thing that's guaranteed not to change is that everything will change.
Yeah.
And thank God. One of the things that always fascinates me is I remember our teacher saying it to us, "Oh, you're the worst class I've ever had. The future of the country is in going down the toilet because of your..."
Well, that's just bad teachers. Clearly.
They used to say it all the time, and you still hear kids saying, teachers say to them, but the thing about it is, and you hear, political commentators and stuff like that saying, "Oh, when you look at the youth of today, what hope is the future? Look at them all with their trans this and their dim and that there and all that
and
stuff.
They're stuck to their screens.
Yeah, and they're stuck to their screens. Oh, the future, they're going to ruin the planet. They're going to, we're heading to doomsday." It's never once in history been true. Never has a generation been worse than the generation before. It's been improving forever, and until we get hit by that.
Exactly, I was going to say, it'll keep going until it won't.
Until it won't. But like, when you look at the advancements we've made in every single field down through the years, it's always been improving. like the literacy rate now worldwide now compared to the 1980s, 1970s is ridiculously different. You know,
Yeah.
world literacy rate has gone up loads. More countries have more freedom now than ever before. The kids are all right. The next generation are going to be fine. You know what I mean? They're going to improve stuff. Like you look at them already, they're definitely like our generation kind of started where we're kind of going, maybe we should start looking at saving the world, the environment. We should probably do something, should we? What do you think?
It's fine.
Yeah, and the kids now are going, we need to do something, you know, and their kids will probably do something maybe, or maybe the next ones.
I don't think there will be next. Well, it won't be that bad.
If there are kids, you know, 3 generations down the line, they'll probably do something, I'm sure. But so that's another thing that means to be Irish. And did you know that there was a nurse on there was a nurse on the Titanic who survived the Titanic, but she had survived another sinking before that and another one after it. Yeah. Off of the White Star Line.
Really?
Yeah.
You know the Titanic.
Said, look, you're not
the Titanic has 2 sister ships, and she was on all 3 of them, and they all met horrible fates. Well, not horrible, but
one of them just got ran into.
Yeah. Crashed.
Yeah, I think
one of them got torpedoed, didn't he?
Huh?
One of them got torpedoed in World War One.
It could have been.
Not the Carpathia, but
the Lusitania.
No, the Lusitania. The Lusitania was
We'd have to look
torpedoed in Cork, but it wasn't a sister ship.
Ah, okay, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Violet Jessup was the lady's name.
Ah, yes, yeah, that's
often referred to as the Queen of Sinking Ships.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, she was a nurse.
Yeah.
So that's it. I think we should probably wrap this one up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important, guys, not guys, it's very important to the people who are looking or listening. We get feedback from comments if you can, if you want to. You like and subscribe. And tune in next time. We'd love to hear back. We'd love to hear any feedback back from me. That's it, really.
Okay.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Goodbye, everybody.
Until we meet again.